Ladies, thank you so much for coming on Facebook. You know, this is Love and Relationship Month on the I'm Loving Me project. And y'all know that's something I do not talk about. And the
Ooh,
reason why I don't
say
talk
that.
about it is because there's been some ups and downs and bumpy roads. But what I do, y'all, is y'all know that I bring you the best who can talk about it to give you some advice on what you can do in your marriage and relationships because the sister's still trying to get there. Okay. So we have the amazing relationship coach, Nicole. How you say your last name is Nicole?
Elam.
Nicole Elam, who's going to give us some tips on what we can do in our relationships, in our marriage, you know, any type of relationships we're in with our partners, so that we can actually have some healthy dialogue about some of the
Mhm.
things that we want as we
Yeah.
embark on this journey to becoming who we are and transforming. We have to alert the people that we with that we are changing too,
Mhm.
because
Mhm.
as we change, you know, the people around us, either they're going to change or they're going to move out the way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Nicole, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate it.
Thank you for having me. And I love your, well, first, let me start with this voice. Like, you have got the best podcast speaking voice. I feel so soothed right now.
Really?
Let's start with that. The second thing that I love about you is like, look, I ain't got it all together. I
Mm-mm.
ain't there yet, but let me
Oh, they
bring in
know.
somebody who can help you, because I think so often we don't do that. We don't maximize resources that are around us, and we try to go at it alone. And
No, I always tell them all the time. I said, if you need help on your business, if you
yeah,
want to be able to, you know, help with your self love and
yep,
transformation, you
yep,
come on and see me. Now,
yeah.
when you start dating and you get out there and you're trying to find somebody and you've been married, now that's where we go downhill, okay? Because
That's not
we've
me
been working
anymore.
on that for a long time. And so, of course, I got plenty of questions because I believe this is going to be a great dialogue. Because one of the things, first, if you can,
Hmm.
just let everybody know, you know, who you are and exactly what.
Yeah. So my name is Nicole Elam. You can find me online or on Instagram at It's Coach Nicole, ITS Coach Nicole. And the way that I got started in relationships was certainly not planned. I'm a lawyer by training, and I was doing a number of divorce cases and custody disputes. I'm based in DC, and in DC, there's mandatory mediation. Before you can get a divorce, you got to sit down somewhere and talk about it. And as I'm helping my clients with mediation and with their divorce proceedings, you quickly realize that most of the people that you're seeing don't need a divorce. They need to sit down somewhere and get counseling. But there are layers and layers of hurt that they don't know how to address. They feel like they've tried to address, and so they've thrown in the towel, and they're getting a divorce, oftentimes, I would say, prematurely. Now, there are sometimes people I'd be like, yeah, you probably need to go on ahead and get this divorce.
Right.
But more often than not, I was surprised at the number of couples that I would see that really I felt like needed to sit down somewhere and get counseling. And so that motivated me to be a better mediator. So I went back to school just thinking that I would use these skills to help my clients, but I fell in love with it. So I ended up getting a master's in counseling, becoming licensed, and practicing in Maryland and DC for a number of years before I got tired of being wedded to an office space, right? And so I wanted to take my practice online. And this was 5 years ago, before COVID, before people were doing Zoom for everything.
Right.
And e-counseling was not licensed. It wasn't a thing. And so I gave up my license and started doing coaching, and I've been doing it ever since. So it's over 10 years now that I've been doing it between licensed counseling and coaching. And it's just been a phenomenal experience. I'm surprised also at how often I see myself in the couples and the individuals that I'm working with. Like, ooh, I do that. I need to,
Well,
okay,
you're probably about to
okay,
see me because I got
okay.
questions.
I
So
do that.
the first thing, the first thing is, how do you know if a person needs counseling or should they get a divorce? Like, what are some of the things that you look for? Because when a person comes to you,
Yeah.
usually they're at that point where they're like, forget it, right? But
Yeah.
how could you tell that it's just counseling they need?
Yeah. So I think it's about length of time, how disconnected they may feel from one another, and are they finished doing the work, right? Are they tired and are they over it? Whether it's one person or two people, it oftentimes takes two people to work on and repair a marriage. So if you're the only person working, yeah, that's going to work for a little bit, right? You can change your thoughts, your perspectives, but you can't change the other person. And so I often look at how long they've been in this place of turmoil. Is this something that's 6 months? Or are we talking 6 years here? So I look at the length of time. I look at their willingness to do things different. Are they willing to do things different? And then I look at kind of forgiveness, right? Oftentimes there's hurt, and sometimes people aren't willing to move past that hurt. And it's not good, it's not bad, no judgment, but you got to be real with yourself and say, I can't move past this hurt, I can't move past this pain. And if that's the case, you can throw in the towel. But I try to be team relationship, right? I really try to be team relationship and push you to do all that you can do before you decide to throw in the towel. Particularly when there's kids and property involved, because that can bring out, a different side of you.
Worse, yes, worse.
So I really push you to try as hard as you can try, whether individually or collectively, before you throw in the towel.
Now, how about when it's a situation where, and this is big, where you have one person who's
Yeah,
growing and the other person is not? Like,
yeah,
I know personally, one of the reasons why me and my husband, I mean, we're good friends today.
yeah,
Nicole, they laugh at us because
yeah.
we share the dogs every week. And I tell the
Ooh,
ladies on here, he come one week and pick them up. I come the other week and pick them up. Like now they with me this week. And
uh-huh,
then next
uh-huh,
week they go on with
uh-huh,
him. Right. We have a great relationship. But
uh-huh.
in my mind, we just
Yeah,
couldn't be married, right?
yeah, yeah.
And and part of us is like,
Mm-hmm.
maybe we were too young and
Yeah,
we
yeah,
didn't really, we were still just being
yeah,
immature and we were out
yeah,
there. And now that life happened,
yeah, yeah. We're different people.
right? But when
Mm-hmm.
you in it though,
Mm-hmm.
you don't see that.
Yeah,
You don't
yeah,
see that.
yeah, yeah.
So when the growth happens,
Mm-hmm.
or while you're growing in a
Mm-hmm.
relationship, how do you actually get your partner to see where you're trying to communicate, right?
Yeah.
But it's just not registering.
Yeah, yeah. So there are so many different ways that I could answer that question. I first want to say, like, people don't do enough work on the front end
Hmm.
of determining who they want to be in a relationship with, particularly a marriage. They don't do enough work on the front end. I think there are some things, yes, we may evolve. Who I am today and who I'm going to be 20 years from now, I'm going to be looking a little different. You met me in
Right.
college, you met me in high school. I'm now in my 40s. Stuff ain't looking, feeling the same. I'm now in my, all of that stuff changes. But you need to do the work of understanding values, right?
Mhm.
Are we aligned on our values? Are we trying to not necessarily go in the same direction, if you will, but the things that are most important, are we aligned on that?
Mhm.
People skip that step and then often are surprised why you're going in two different directions. Now if you're already married and you're like, we're growing in different ways, one question that I often ask people is, are they the same person, right?
Mm. Come on
Are they
now,
the
that's
same
true.
person that you met and you just mad because they're the same? You can't be. Yes, you wanted them to grow and yes, you wanted them to evolve, but they may very well be the person that you fell in love with, that you felt like was going to be okay, and now you're not okay with it. And the reason why that
Exactly.
matters is you have to take accountability for your actions, right? You signed up for this. You shouldn't have signed up for potential. You signed up for this. And who they
Mm.
are now is who they've always been. Now you're upset. Does that mean people shouldn't evolve, shouldn't change? Absolutely not. But I'm just saying we got to take accountability for some of that front end work that we didn't do. Now, if you're in the marriage, you're like, we're growing and we're growing in different ways, and I'm trying to communicate that, that's where I feel like bringing in a third party. because you've probably communicated it so much or communicated in a way that they can't hear you, that they've shut you down. So now y'all just arguing and you're becoming frustrated and it's more creating more tension. Bring in a third party who can help you say it and see it differently. Right? Because y'all been having that same argument for 5 years, 5 weeks, whatever it may be. Bring in somebody else, because you're now probably closed off and not hearing one another.
That's
It's
right.
I'm never surprised how when I'm with a couple and they say, well, I said that. I've been saying that.
Hallelujah.
But
The
for
whole
whatever
time.
reason, a different setting, a different environment, a different person is allowing it to be heard in a different way. You both, a good counselor, a good coach will help you both be heard and understood, even
But
if you're saying what you feel like is the same thing.
yeah, but it's like with us women, right?
Yeah.
We do thrive off of having conversations, talking,
Yes.
because we
Yes.
go to brunch, we hang
Yeah.
out with each other.
Yes. Our
So we have
relationships
like our,
revolve
that's right.
around communication.
We have our
Yeah.
sister girlfriends who are
Yeah.
our therapists.
Yep.
And
Yep.
sometimes the hardest thing
Mm-hmm.
is
Yeah.
talking to our mates, because
Yeah.
our mates feel like, you know, when they are in that situation where they have to have that hard conversation, or it's time where you say, can I talk to you? It's like, here we go
Yeah.
again,
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Like, what's wrong now? What do
Yeah.
you want now?
What
And
did I
then
mess up on now?
that's right.
Mm-hmm.
And
What
you
did
have
I
a
do
person
wrong?
that you have a
Mm-hmm.
person that shuts down, where
Yeah.
it's like,
Yeah.
I am trying to
Yeah.
communicate. I am
Yeah.
trying to do these things, but I
Mm-hmm.
always feel like I get attacked when I come to you.
Mm-hmm.
Like when you
Mm-hmm.
have a person who is, you know, has a little bit of trauma, even on both sides,
Yeah. Yeah.
is it
They're
still
not responding to you. They're responding to a
all
lot of
that
different
stuff?
stuff.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
I could tell you something. I was dating somebody after
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
my marriage, and
Mm-hmm.
it was so funny where I always communicated,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I never had that problem. And
Mm-hmm.
when I would try to communicate with him, it always seemed to me like it came out wrong, because I would sit up
Yeah.
there and say, oh, I am not feeling good right now. Oh,
Yeah. Yeah.
you bothered me, and let me tell you how.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
we gotta talk. And he would sit up
Yeah.
there and just be like, he'll go into himself.
Yeah.
He
Start
would
shutting
say
down.
anything. Yeah. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
like,
Mm-hmm.
did you hear anything that I said? Yeah. And I'm like,
Yeah.
well, are you going to respond? So it's like when you have a
Yeah.
person, to me, what I
Yeah.
started doing, we analyze as women,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You start
Mm-hmm.
analyzing. And once you start
Mm-hmm.
analyzing, you like, okay, you don't like confrontation,
Yeah. Yeah.
this and that.
Yeah.
So how do you have that conversation where you have a person that's probably,
Yeah.
went through some kind of trauma too, where they have
Mm-hmm.
coping mechanisms that they
Yeah.
have, where it's
Yeah.
hard to get to them.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's something that oftentimes happens where an argument is never really about the words that are being said. A conversation is very rarely, particularly rough and difficult conversations, are rarely about the topics at hand. There's usually layers and layers and layers of other stuff that are being integrated into the conversation. And so, again, I'm a big advocate of getting a third party there, because they can oftentimes see things that you're not able to see. You feel like, I've read all the books about how to communicate. I've read the blog post. I listened to the podcast. I'm using I statements now, but there's
Yeah.
probably something that you are saying or doing that is making it difficult for you to be received. It's not a blame game, but maybe it's a small tweak in your delivery that could help. One thing people don't like is to be blindsided, right? Like, don't say, can I talk? Say, hey, babe, tomorrow night I want to talk about X. Are you available? Give a person time to prepare for a conversation, because if they feel blindsided, they already feel like they're coming into the conversation less prepared than you are, because you got your bulleted list, and
Sure
they
do.
they just here with like, okay, so
Look, I
don't
done went to
blindside
brunch
people.
and got my whole list and
Girl, you
coming
go
back
and
with
you
it.
go and check it with other people. You're doing too much. So don't blindside people with conversations. Give them a heads up. Say, hey, can we talk about X, Y? I'd like to talk about whatever it is. The second thing is conversations last too long,
Yeah.
right? I feel like sometimes it's okay to have a series of conversations. It doesn't have to be all in one stop. And I know that this is me. If a conversation is going longer than 45 minutes, I'm starting to check out because I'm feeling emotionally drained. And
Mhm.
so we need to start putting time limits on our conversation so that people know the off ramp, right? Like I know that this thing is only going to be but 30 minutes long. Can you talk about everything in 30 minutes? Probably not.
Right.
TBD, right? But you need to allow people off ramps because at a certain point, people become emotionally exhausted and overwhelmed, and you're just getting that. The
God.
second thing is you need to talk about your feelings, right? We get so fact and content driven. I didn't like it when you said this. I didn't like it when you said that. It was on Sunday. It was gray. It was, like we get so fact driven. Talk about your feelings, right? Like, what is the underlying thing? And sometimes when you're thoughtful about it, you discover that it's not them. This is not a them issue. This is a me issue. Like, this triggered me. This is about me, not them. So do the work to prepare for conversations in advance and know what you want to get out of it. Like, am I coming to just vent and complain?
Mm-hmm.
Nobody wants to hear that, right? Or am I coming because I want a solution?
Mm. I like in the blog that you submitted to us is that you gave us 5 communication boosters, and one of the boosters that you said is the weekend check-in,
Oh
like
yeah.
how to check in. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Girl, I don't even remember this booster I didn't send in. But weekend check-ins I think are good because they allow you to say, all right, what went well? How can I better support you? How can you support me? It just allows you to get on the same page. And I think sometimes weekend check-ins certainly can be about the relationship, right? Like, how are you feeling? How are things going? But they can also be about how we can support each other. Because
Right.
I think sometimes what wears relationships out is that they become so focused on the relationship and you lose yourself and then you become resentful, right? So you still have to be a me in the midst of a we. And so like part of your weekend check-in needs to be about you. Like, how can we support each other's goals? What went well? So those are the types of things that I think are really good about a weekend check-in. It just allows you to touch base without things piling on and you becoming resentful.
We used to do that um, a lot. Like we used to do like 6 month check-ins,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Those
used
are
to
probably the more
say,
in-depth ones.
yeah, I would say like, are you happy? Is there anything
Yeah.
that you would like to change?
Yeah.
How is the relationship going for you? And
Yeah.
and then when you're hearing, the same thing over and over again, oh, everything is fine, everything is great, and everything is wonderful. It's
Yeah.
like, oh, okay, so there's nothing that you want to
Yeah.
change. And
Yeah.
then they will wait for the other shoe to drop and just be
Yeah.
like, anything
Yep.
anything you want to change?
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
then it was
Because
all
they really don't want to fast. Because I know, like, oh Lord, am I opening myself up
that's
for
right. That's right.
something?
That's right. So another one of the things that you said as far as the communication boosters is the daily text and making sure that you
Yeah.
have these high and low check-ins, which is what I like
Yeah.
because again, you kind of get this, feel of I'm not in a relationship by myself. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
and
I'm not doing this thing by myself.
and you know what? And I'm sitting here thinking about it to a person who is so used to shutting down or had some kind of trauma, the daily little check-in and the weekend check-ins really do help because
Yeah.
at least you're getting something. So if it
Yeah.
is a big enough thing where you have to talk, right?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe all those little small things you've done
Yeah. Yeah.
will
Yeah.
allow you to
Doesn't
get
make it
what you
so
need.
big.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's
I think what happens in conversations is, you hear all the time, stick to one issue, stick to one issue. But what happens is because we don't raise things, it becomes piled on. And by the time we actually open our mouth, we got a million things to say. And if our partner says something, we got a me too, right? Like we got to tag along. Well, what about this and what? So the conversation becomes overwhelming because you didn't raise it. And part of the reason why people don't raise things is that they feel like it's going to be an issue. No, create an environment through the daily check-ins, or the daily high-low check-ins and text messages and the weekly check-ins to where you can raise things without it being something went wrong, something happened, I did something. No, It can be a just, hey, this happened, period.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? Like it doesn't have to be a thing.
Right. And I know you we limited on time. So my last question for you is for those women out there who are in a situation right now where their marriage is a little bit of rocky, or they with a
Yeah.
person that, they feel like they just not getting with, or who's not supporting them or anything like that. What advice would you give to them on how to start that conversation, or to, really sit down with their mate so they can see if this is something that they want to stay in or get out of?
Yeah, I would I think so often in those conversations, we start with and we dominate the conversations with how we feel and what it is. And we very rarely bring the other person into the conversation by asking them, how are you feeling? What would you like to see different? It ain't rainbows and sunshines for me, and I can only imagine that it's probably not feeling like rainbows and sunshines for you. I think we get so focused on our own perspective, our own hurt, that we fail to stop and sit in the seat of their hurt and their pain. And so I think if you want to raise it, and you should, you need to be very thoughtful and intentional about including them into the conversation, making way for them to express what's not going great for them. And then you want to always talk about solutions, right? So now what? You're feeling this way, I'm feeling this way, I'm not feeling very supported, I feel like we're kind of going round and round. And you don't want to make it a blame conversation, right? This is just a collaborative conversation. We almost like I'm stepping outside of myself into this conversation if you need to, so that it doesn't become a combative thing. But when you're doing that, you want to have some solutions. So like, what's next? I feel like what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to get some counseling, right? What about you? What are you open to? Should we try to do something together? And I think for solutions, particularly when it's around should we stay or should we go, you want to have a solution that is something that each party can do individually and something that you guys can do together as a collective. We're not trying to boil the ocean right now, right? What is one thing you can do? What is one thing I can do? What is one thing we can do? And go from there.
Mm. Coach Nicole, thank you so much for being here. I appreciate all the little nuggets that you gave us, and well, me personally.
Well, thank you for having me. I appreciate it. I do. I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We'll definitely make sure that we could catch up with you when you have some more time, but we are so blessed with what you gave us. Okay.
Thank you very much.
All right, man. We'll talk soon.